Jai Hind and good morning, my dear loving kids. Hope you are all safe and utilizing your time in studies or in some creative work. Are you reading storybooks? Children, please read storybooks now as you won't get any time after this. Are you learning the new words of the first chapter? Better try to use those words in your write-ups. As you all know that we all are going through a very difficult time. The world is struggling hard to survive. I would request my children to come up as supporting hands for those who are deprived of many things which actually we are enjoying. Stay safe, stay at home. Now today let us all start our class. Today we will start with the poetry section. The first poem is Dust of Snow by Robert Frost. Now children, we say it poem, but the actual pronunciation is poem. But it would sound funny for you people, isn't it, if I say poem? But that is the actual pronunciation of poem. I would share something with you children before I start the poem. At times we go through a very dejected mood. Isn't it children? Most of the time we don't have any valid reason for it. But a very simple incident changes our dejected mood, isn't it? And save the day from being spoiled. I know many of you are waiting there to share your experiences with me. Okay, we'll share once the school reopens. This poetry has showcased the same theme. Now we'll start with the introduction. Robert Frost did not choose to use an oak, maple or a pine tree, which usually the poets they use these trees in their poems. But Robert Frost in this poem did not use them. Rather he used hemlock tree. Reiterates that the little things in life can make a huge change in our future. Now, if we were in class, what we would have done? I would have asked everybody to go through the poem silently, isn't it? But here I know if I ask you people, you won't do it. So, I'll be reciting the poem. Dust of Snow by Robert Frost. The way a crow shook down on me the dust of snow from a hemlock tree has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I rued. Now, children, I think you have got the poem. It's a very short poem. Now, we would learn what are the objectives of the poem. The first objective is to enable the students to appreciate the beauty. You will be learning the rhyme scheme and the style of the poem. In the process of proceeding of the explanation, I'll be discussing the rhyme scheme and the style of the poem. The second objective is to make the students understand the thought and imagination contained in the poem. To make the students think about different human emotions and their effects, to inspire them, their feelings in the form of short poems. Now, this is what I ask you to do. I ask my children to use their imaginations, give them an age, and write all their overflow of emotions, imaginations in the form of poetry. And many of you do it, isn't it? Because you have shared many poems with me. Very good, children. But everybody should inculcate the habit of writing short poems. At least you can do it. Now we'll learn about the poet. The poet of the short poem is Robert Frost. He is a modern poet. Dust of Snow by Robert Frost. It was written in 1923. Robert Frost, in the bracket you can see two dates, 1874 to 1963. Means his birthday and the day when he demised. He left us. That is 1963. He was an American poet and a 4-time Pulitzer Prize winner. This poem was originally published in Frost's poetry collection, New Hampshire, but is most commonly found in more modern collections of Frost's poems. Now, children, we'll be discussing the summary of the poem. Poem or poem? Yes. So, let me start. The poem depicts the crow and the hemlock tree as the reasons for his changed mood and increased optimism. What is the crow? It depicts of a bad omen. Hemlock tree is a poisonous tree. But this too acts as a factor to change the mood of the poet and increased optimism. Optimism means the sense of positivity, isn't it? In our world, a crow is a bird widely detested. For some societies, a group of crows is associated with the looming murder. A crow benefits from other living things' misfortunes. Being a scavenger, it waits for the other stronger creatures such as the vultures to rip open the carcasses only for it to consume the soft tissues. Moreover, its color is relatively black with a few patches of white for some species. The black complexion implies doom, while the white spots could mean the possibility of something good to be associated with the cruel bird. The hemlock tree, on the other hand, is a poisonous tree. Its consumption could lead to health complications for anyone. Due to this, the tree is avoided and considered useless. However, in the poem, the very bird we hate shakes up the poisonous tree, causing snow to fall on the poet. The result is a changed individual who looks at life with a new mindset. The crow is the last bird we would expect to initiate any positive deed. In this case, it is the precise source of positive transformation. Children, I think you could get the summary. Now, we'll go for the other part of the summary, the continuation of the summary. There exists different species of crows with various physical attributes in the world. However, they all portray the same negative characteristics. This is symbolic of the people, location, things, and animals that are deeply ostracized. Just as the different crows, they all are typical representatives of doom in our lives. Children, the poet is possibly advocating for the need to precise them with a positive state of mind. We could as well be misjudging them and in the process miss out on the positive influences they could have in our lives. Besides snowdrops on the poet, since he is positioned under the hemlock tree, his position symbolizes people's need to take risks in trusting those they mistrust, children. Evidence of past dangerous tendencies does not necessarily justify the future danger. Though written in straightforward language with no similes or adjectives, the poem conveys its message through imagery. In the process of reading the poem, images of someone is a melancholic mood. Melancholic means sad mood. Walking in a snowy landscape are created in our mind. The poem achieves this by use of familiarity and contrast. By now, children, I think you can visualize the landscape is all covered by snow. There is a hemlock tree and the poet is in a morose mood and he is passing by the hemlock tree, or you may say that he came and stood under the hemlock tree. Okay, he was all distressed with a very bad mood. So you could get the picture? Yes. Now I'll be discussing the theme of the poem. Dust of snow refers to the tiny particles of snow. Have you ever felt the tiny particles of snow? Not in our plains. You won't get it. But most of you might have played with those dust of snow, isn't it? You have felt those dust. The particles are so small that poet referred to them as dust. They're just like powder, na children? You just mold it to a ball and play with it, isn't it? The poet was in an awful mood when particles of snow had fallen on him. This changed the poet's frame of mind instantly and his day got a lot better. The short poem by Robert Frost throws light upon the unimaginable healing power of nature and tiny things. For a bad mood to ill health, there is nothing that can be cured by nature. The author was experiencing one such bad day when a crow's movement near a hemlock tree dusted snow upon him. Now, children, we will be discussing the style of composition as I had promised in our first, when we were at the beginning of the poem, that we will be discussing the style of the composition. Robert Frost's poetry is characterized by a traditional form of verse. Themes of the natural landscape, human experiences, human limitations and travel. Dust of snow follows the same line of thought. The language in which it is written is very simple and easy to comprehend. Now we'll come to the message of the poem. Now this message you can write it in one line, and in your cover page you'll be writing it. The message given by the poet Robert Frost through the poem Dust of Snow is a positive change can take place through negativity also. So this is the main message which poet wanted to convey the readers, that a positive change can take place through a negativity also. The little thing can bring big change in life. Simple act of kindness done can inspire others with enthusiasm and may bring huge change in their lives. So this is the thing we learn from this poem. So when we are in all darkness, we should always have a hope for a light, and we can always think that there is always a window open for a good opportunity to come. It is upon us that how we grab it. Now what are the symbols used in this poem? Dust of snow. The black crow is commonly a symbol of death and fear. Black crow is a symbol of death and fear. Since the crow is not associated with goodness, it is ironic that in this poem it is doing a good deed by shaking off the snow. Understood, children? Now we'll go for the paraphrase explanation. I'll read out the paragraph. This is a very short poem. The way a crow shook down on me. Who is this me? The poet, Robert Frost. Okay? Both the answers are correct. The dust of snow from a hemlock tree. The way a crow shook down on me, the dust of snow from a hemlock tree. So here the poet has not mentioned whether the crow was already perching on the branches of the hemlock tree, or whether the crow has, it came and perched, or it flew. He never mentioned those. He said that crow shook on the dust of snow on him. Now let me explain the paragraph. The poem is set in a scene. Now children, please try to imagine the set. Then you would love learning the poetry. You can, if you visualize what the poet is actually trying to show us. The poem is set in a scene when the poet is in a bad mood and is walking by a tree, a hemlock tree. The hemlock tree is a poisonous tree. As he passes by, a crow happens to throw or shook some snow dust on him. Whether it falls on his head or shoulders is unknown. Poet has never mentioned that. As there is no specific mention in the poem, also the readers are left in doubt about the bird's specific action. Whether the crow was landing, or it was shivering with cold, or readjusting itself on the branch, or taking off, it happened to send some particles of snow upon the author. Here, the two agents of the nature, the hemlock tree and the crow, are the signifiers of sadness and gloom, just like the poet's mood was in the opening scene. Now children, take the note of the new words. The new words you have to learn and use it in your write-ups. Shook, shake, I know that, you know it. Hemlock, a poisonous tree with small white flowers. Now I could manage a small picture of this hemlock tree, which I would share later in the video. You would see it. The next paragraph, has given my heart. Whose heart again? Poet's heart, Robert Frost's heart. A change of mood and saved some part of a day I rued. So did you understand? First, what were we doing in the first paragraph? There the poet was passing by a hemlock tree, or he was standing under the hemlock tree. The crow shook the dust of snow. He was in a morose, bittered mood. This was there, isn't it? Now here, see what is written. Has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I rued. For reasons unknown, the author was having a terrible day, but the falling of the snow on his head lifted his mood instantly, just as a magical spell, you know, children. He had already spent his day in a bad mood, but the rest of it was saved by the crow and the hemlock tree. Generally, the hemlock tree and crow are used for negative references, but the poet used them beautifully to portray that inauspicious things can bring joy and happiness too. So we should not stick to that point that it is bad omen, this is inauspicious, or this is auspicious. No, anything can be good, or anything can bring good fate to you all. One must not take things for granted and should be open and accept whichever way the nature chooses to bless us. The new word here is R-U-E-D, rude, and the meaning is held in regret. Held in regret. Now the most important thing, the poetic device. 1 marks question generally you can get in your exams. Generally they give the extract, they pull out the extract from the poem, they ask questions, name the poet, name the poem, and you have to learn the poem. If dust of snow, if you write the or a, wrong. If the spelling is, you're not writing the spelling properly of the poet, wrong. You are very particular about it. And this poetic device, 1 marks, surely you will get in your extract based questions. Now the literary devices used in Dust of Snow by Robert Frost are rhyme scheme, alliteration, inversion, assonance and enjambment. Now we'll start with the rhyme scheme. By now I think children, you know how to detect the rhyme scheme. But then also some kids, I have seen they are in confusion detecting the rhyme scheme. I'll give you a very easy method to detect the rhyme scheme. You know what? You just close your eyes, open it at the end of the sentence. The first line of the poem. See the last word, okay, and see the next rhyming word. Like here I am saying you, just for example, the way a crow. The next line is shook down on me the dust of snow. Now did you get a rhythmic match of words? Did you get it? The way a crow, dust of snow. This crow and snow, they are rhythmically, they are matching, isn't it? So this will be the crow. The first line of the poem will be marked as A. All right. The next match comes with the dust of snow. That will also be A. So the next line of the poem, shook down on me from the hemlock tree. Me and tree, rhythmically, is it matching, children? Yes. So the second line will be naming it as B and the fourth line as B. So what is the scheme now, children? A, B, A, B. Now is it easy for you? Could you understand? It's very easy. A, B, A, B. Oh yes, children. Before I proceed more with the rhyme scheme, I would ask you to take your pencils and please, if you are not having the book, I know that, please write it in the literature notebook, so that as you get your book, I want these rhyme schemes to be written in the book itself, because at the time of your exams, you are not revisions. Before your exams, you are not going to open your notebooks most of the times. So when you are flipping off the pages of your literature book, you would come to know the rhyme schemes, you will come to know about the poetic devices. So please children, do it. Take a pencil, write it in your literature notebook, and after you get your books, please do write it in your books. Every poem, last day also when I taught the literature first chapter, whatever literature poetic device I'll be teaching you, just mark it, write it there and there. Okay. The next is alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of the same consonant sound in the nearby words. Alliteration spotted in the dust of snow, where we could spot alliteration is the repetition of consonant sound. Has given my heart and saved some part. Now what are the alliterative words here? Has, heart, saved, some. Children, I think you have noted it, because I've taken lots of pain in arranging, in writing, in typing on all these things. Children, please do write it in your literature notebook. The alliterative words are has, heart, HH, saved, some, SS. Is that clear? Yes. The next device. It is inversion, assonance and enjambment. Inversion. When the structure of a sentence is changed by the poet to create the rhyme. This poetic device is called inversion. In stanza 1, the inversion can be seen. When the structure of the sentence is just changed to create a rhyme, it is inversion. Assonance. The prominence of a vowel sound throughout a line is called assonance. In stanza 1, line 2, shook down on me. Oh, sound is prominent, isn't it? Shook down on me, O sound is prominent. Now enjambment, when the same sentence continues to the next line without the use of any punctuation marks, it is called enjambment. It has been used throughout the poem. Now here I'll be sharing with you the picture of the hemlock tree. Can you see, children? It just looks like pine, isn't it? The dust of snow, I think you know, the particles of snow, watching the fall of dust of snow is very enjoying in the high altitudes. The hemlock tree is a poisonous tree with small white flowers. The hemlock is a poisonous tree found in the mountain areas. Now children, are you all tired? Okay, just I'll wind up with the key points. What we have learned today. It's a short poem. Why are you tired? The poem describes a very simple happening in very simple words. Yes, I think you agree with me. It tells us that sometimes even a small incident may prove to be a larger significance. The poet is upset in beginning of the poem, but a small incident of falling of snow changes his mood totally. In the end of the poem, the poet feels relaxed and thankful to the nature for saving his day from being wasted. Thank you, children. Hope you have understood the poem. You have liked the way of explanation. Now I would request you, children, to make your cover page with the message. You have to learn the message because that would again change your life. It would mold your soul and make you a good human being with lots of optimism. Okay, so till then, bye. I'll be back with you with some questions from this chapter.